Imagine, if you will, your battle station where for some reason your third monitor is a standard definition NTSC CRT television. Yeah, I know, no surprise. I've shown this kind of thing before. This is basically just using one of those cheap HDMI to RCA converters. Literally the cheapest of the cheap ones that you can get for like $10. And as far as I understand, they don't support 240p, so they're only going to output 480i. Maybe I'm wrong there. If you guys know, there's maybe a way to force it. But, you know, Windows has its own issues, or Windows doesn't want to go below. Let's go into display settings. Third monitor is recommended as 1024 by 768, and it won't go any lower than 800 by 600. But when we launch RetroArch, it will launch on the CRT. And if we go into video settings here, we can see that it is the third monitor, of course, and 1024 by 768. Now here we can actually set it lower than 800 by 600. So we got 640 by 480 as an option. But I find it ends up making it look worse, ends up shrinking the horizontal size of the image. It shrinks in and there's black bars on the side. And really doesn't look any better regardless. And, you know, there's a lot of other settings in here, obviously, when it comes to your video stuff in RetroArch. I've got VSync on if it is turned off, even though it's running at 60 hertz. There's a lot of screen tearing. Very, very bad screen tearing, almost non-stop screen tearing. So that might just be this cheap scaler again, but I found if VSync is on, it's fine. And then there is something in here called CRT switch res. I don't really understand this because I think it still requires something in the background in being installed in Windows for it to work properly. And even then, I think it only works properly if you're using like VGA and some kind of scaler that supports 240p. Again, as far as I know, this scaler can only do 480i. But yeah, in here you can turn on like 15 kilohertz, and it seems that it will default to the resolution going down all the way to 640 by 480 again, which again causes that issue with the shrinking on the horizontal size of the image. But also it seems to want to add scan lines, and because of the resolution mismatch, like it's not outputting 240p, it's outputting 640 by 480, and that's still coming out as 480i. The scan lines, it causes just this really crazy like moire patterns that you notice in person, not just on camera. It's very, very strange. It ends up looking much, much worse. So I found just keeping it at native, 1024 by 768, turn off all your shaders, turn on VSync, and yeah, so we'll load up a game here, Super Mario World for Super Nintendo to start. And the audio does come out of the monitor, which is really cool. And as you can see, it's filling the horizontal size up. In fact, if anything, there's a little too much, I guess, overscan, or the sides are cropped a little bit. Not too bad in this game, but in some games I found it does cause a slight issue where you're cutting off a little bit. So yeah, if we turn on integer scaling, it shrinks it in. But then other things don't look right sometimes. So I don't know, just depending on the game, how you might want that. I'm sure you can manually adjust, you know, your width and your scaling on different axes and everything, and you can try punching in manual resolutions. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here that you could play with, but Again, I think for the most part, in most games, having that little bit of cropped on the overscan is fine. That's probably how a lot of CRTs were back in the day, even with real Super Nintendos. But yeah, it looks okay. Again, it's 480i. It's not 240p. So we're not going to get the same scan lines. So if we look at that up close and we compare that to a real Super Nintendo on the same monitor, in theory, the scan lines won't be as pronounced here because, again, this really should be 240p, not 480i. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, I mean, obviously, too, we can play, you know, videos. So kind of a cool way just to maybe watch some old TV shows on a CRT. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, if you know of a way to get 240p to work out on one of those cheap scalers, if it's possible, let me know. But again, I just don't think it can do it. I think that scaler is just basically hardwired to output 480i only. So yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here you can mess with, but some of it just makes it look worse, and a lot of times too it'll crash. I believe, for example, if I have VSync on and I turn on CRT switch res, it'll crash. So yeah, there's like certain combinations, especially once you have this CRT switch res thing going, where it'll crash. But again, I believe this CRT switch res requires extra software in Windows running in the background and a certain AMD video card and VGA to, I guess you'd be going through like a VGA to composite converter and something that can output 240p. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff that you need for that to work properly. So again, I don't mess with that, but I think in general it looks pretty good. Other than, again, it's 480i instead of 240p. And, you know, the input latency certainly could be a little bit better. Yeah, let's check out an arcade game, Street Fighter 2, for example. Now here's one where you'll notice the overscan's cut off. Not just there, because I mean that's actually, I don't think that's part of the game. This is part of the game, and it's okay here. Actually looks pretty good, right? Just in general, like the image quality looks pretty good. You know, it is cool that you can do this with a cheap ass $10 scaler. I know it's downscaling. I'm just calling it a scaler for simplicity. It's technically it's converting digital to analog and downscaling. Yeah, it looks pretty good, all things considered. Again, if we whoops. So here you can see it's where it's cropped, it's becoming an issue. So in this case, we can go into again, go into video settings, scaling, and turn on integer scaling, and that'll just bring that in. So yeah, again, depending on the game, you may want integer scaling on or off, or, you know, even manually tweak this kind of stuff. But again, just in general, for as basic as this is with a cheap ass $10 scaler, it looks pretty cool. And again, the input latency, I'll try to show. And it's kind of hard to show in video, but you know, I'll try to show it here with this controller. And again, I know this is going to be kind of hard to show, but again, I know it's kind of pointless to show in video. But again, there's definitely some input latency there coming from that cheap scaler. And again, it's only doing 480i, not 240p. But again, it's kind of cool that you can do this with a cheap $10 scaler. So yeah, I don't know, just kind of fun. And again, for watching old cartoons and stuff, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Kind of funny, but kind of fun at the same time. So yeah, just thought I'd show that. Anyways, see you guys later.